Hello, I'm so pleased to introduce you to my friend and colleague, Daniel Martin. Years working as a union organizer created so much stress in Daniel's life that he had lots of physiological symptoms and nothing seemed to help until one day he tried acupuncture. The acupuncture was so effective that it changed his life, made him healthier, and also made him decide to become a licensed acupuncturist. For a decade, Daniel has used a gentle technique of Japanese acupuncture and herbalism to treat chronic digestive problems, chronic pain, migraines, and anxiety. Daniel's my acupuncturist, and he helps me in so many ways, and I'm so pleased that he is.
Thank you, Alane. So now I get the pleasure of introducing Alane Freund. She's a native of Oklahoma and has been in California since 1988 and has worked in the mental health field for the last 3 decades. She's a lifelong rescuer of neglected and wild horses, and back in 2003 became certified in equine assisted growth and learning. And for the past decade has really specialized in temperament and becoming an international consultant on high sensitivity. She has clients now all over the world. So Alane, to start a talk off, I really wanted to, our talks about anxiety, and I really wanted to get a better sense from you. What does that mean in terms of highly sensitive people?
Well, highly sensitive people, another word for that is a finely tuned nervous system. And it turns out that if you have a finely tuned nervous system and you're thrown into a stressful environment, you're more likely to experience anxiety. And we need to take much better care of ourselves. And that brings us to the topic today. I mean, it's been such a stressful life for the last year. So we're going to talk a little bit about how we define anxiety in our different disciplines, how we work with our clients and patients, the people we help, and maybe give a couple tools for how you can prevent anxiety in your own life. I'll start off. So when we are feeling stress, we're on the continuum. I call it the anxiety continuum. You know, when everything's great, you're just relaxed. Everything's good in your life. Then you get a little bit of a stressor. You start getting to this level of, well, you're coping. And then stress gets worse. You're pretty stressed out. It's after that that we get into the really problematic situation of having anxiety, or even the higher level, completely out of control, panic attacks, sometimes also called anxiety attacks. So if we think of anxiety as a continuum, what's really important is that we don't get in the habit of shooting way up on it, but that we learn to prevent getting into those higher levels. There are a few different things that we do to prevent those higher levels of anxiety. And I like to use the 3 A's: awareness, acceptance, action. Awareness means just identifying what you can and can't control. And sometimes we just can't control our anxiety once it gets started. Acceptance is trying to de-stress by not focusing on and controlling our anxiety. And finally, acceptance goes into action by focusing our attention on what we can change. So finding out the difference between what you can and can't change is key here. So from the mental health perspective, what would we say would tell us that we're getting into anxiety? We can look for these symptoms: excessive worry, irritability, sleep disturbance, poor concentration. Now that just doesn't mean just deep processing and thinking a lot like highly sensitive people, but actually not being able to concentrate on the task at hand, restlessness, muscle tension, and fatigue. These could be signs of many different things, but when you're getting several of them, then it's time to start thinking about, maybe this is anxiety. And the more of them we have, the more diagnostic it is. So then you might want to go talk to Daniel.
So how does classical Asian medicine look at anxiety?
Mm-hmm.
So first off, there was never a separation. Like the ancient peoples never saw a difference between what was going on in the mind and what was going on in the body. They always saw this interconnection, and that one affected the other, you know, and it could go either way. It could be the mind affecting the body or the body affecting the mind. And so when I'm working with a person with anxiety, you know, first and foremost, I mean, they're coming in for the anxiety, so I want to treat the symptoms. You know, I want them to come out of that state. And so there's some pretty straightforward ways to do that. And any acupuncturist is skilled at bringing the anxiety down on a symptomatic level, you know, getting the person out of their fight or flight state of mind. But the step that we go beyond that is trying to find out, well, what's really underneath that? What are the aspects of the person is it affecting? Is it, is it affecting their digestion? Is it affecting their breathing? Is it affecting, pain throughout their body? So we're looking for the clues of, where exactly else do we need to support? And Chinese medicine is really interested in that way. We attribute different emotions to different organ systems in the body. And those could be like the precursors to the anxiety. So like somebody who worries a lot or is an overthinker tend to have more the issues with their digestive system, right? And that could be the precursor that then leads to anxiety, or it could have been the opposite.
That might be me. So which comes first, the chicken or the egg?
It could go either way.
Mm.
Doesn't really matter. But when I'm looking at a person with anxiety, I want to support that underlying issue as well. Because
Right.
if all I do is treat the symptom, then they're probably just going to have to keep coming back. And there'll be a cascade of other symptoms throughout their body. So that's
You're,
the basics of how we see it.
and you're making me think about this client we share that came to you first complaining of chronic pain.
Yeah, an older gentleman who had lots of pain in his upper back and neck, and going through some big life changes at the time that they came in. And it was pretty clear to me after a couple of visits that there was a lot of anxiety going on about, I thought it was just about these major life changes. And I had the sense that they were a pretty sensitive person. And I encouraged them to look at your website and take that really cool test for highly sensitive people. And they did, and they came back to me and were actually quite excited about that and said, this is me.
He came out and we worked quite a bit. And it turns out that there's a ton of childhood trauma, and working with the horses helped him to unfold that story. And I know you say a lot of times when you see this going on in patients that you find childhood trauma is at the root of a lot of it as well.
Exactly. Yeah.
And I mean, I love working with you, Daniel, and you're making me think of this young 20s young woman that we work with together that came to me and complaining of anxiety attacks. And it was so chronic. It had become such a habit that she really, with all the great mental health support, she couldn't interrupt it. But when she started working with you, things really shifted. Can you tell us what your perspective on her was?
Yeah, I honestly, I think she just needed that extra step. Like I think she was starting to learn tools in the work you were doing with her. And I think the acupuncture was to help, it helped on that symptomatic level first.
Right.
And there were all these other internal issues going on at the same exact time. So I was able to actually address those pretty quickly. And then I noticed, and you and I talked, we both noticed this shift in her, like really about after 6 weeks, like this big shift. She started to really open up. And
it was like you created a physiological reset in her so that she was able to take in the work that I was doing with her. And she also worked with the horses, as it turns out. Well, it brings up some of those things that I love to work with my clients on. And I know you have some tools too. So maybe we should shift into that now.
Great, let's do it.
I'm going to start with my first favorite. All I want you to do, everybody, is just take a huge breath in and bring your shoulders up to your ears. So, and hold your shoulders up as high as you can and hold your breath in, and then just relax and let it all come out and down. You could do that once or 50 times. Every time you do it, it helps. And I'm going to just lead off with, after that, with a little breathing exercise called the straw breath. You can find this taught anywhere. It's one of my favorites. If you have a straw, you can put it between your lips. So you can just pretend by making a very tiny hole, and that's for when we exhale. So first you take a big breath in through your nose. Inhale as much as you can, and again, hold for just a moment. And then as you exhale, just purse your lips like you're blowing out through a straw, and go ahead and blow your air out as slowly as you can through the smallest hole that you can create with your lips. When it's all the way out, just let it pause for a moment with no air in your system. You can also repeat this as many times as you like.
I love that. You know the first one you did with the raising of the shoulders, somebody showed that to me years and years ago, actually an acupuncturist, and he was having me do it really fast.
Oh yeah, I do that too, yeah.
And I mean, especially if you're, having a lot of stress or anxiety and it's really affecting up here, like you just feel this rush of circulation and it helps to start to loosen the upper back and neck as well. So what I wanted to share was another simple technique. So in acupuncture, there's a whole separate system of acupuncture in our ears. There's many, many points in the ears, and it's really great for stress and anxiety. So I like to have people do a simple ear massage and start with this area, this little cave up here, and start there because there's particular points there that are for anxiety, and gently massage. And as they massage, just come down the outer rim of the ear, come to the lobe. There's a lot more points here that are good for anxiety. Spend a little time on the lobe, and then work your way into the inner ear. Um, it could be 30 seconds, it could be a minute,
Like
but
all of these
right.
exercises, right?
And all these exercises, right? They're a way to quickly get you out of that anxiety state or the stress state, the fight or flight. What do you call it? You call it fight, flight,
Or freeze.
oh,
Yeah,
fight, flight, or
I
freeze.
freeze
Yes.
a lot.
Uh-huh.
And I just, that works. The ear works on your animals and your pets as well.
Oh,
So
yeah.
use
It's
it all the
amazing.
time. I'm going to
Especially
show
for
you,
cats.
yeah, I'm going to show you one more. This is a vagus nerve reset, and the vagus nerve has a lot to do with our parasympathetic versus sympathetic systems. So take your 3 fingers and just put them right over your eyebrow. This is my right hand, so I have it over my left eyebrow. And you're just going to push in pretty firmly over the top of your eyebrow, then your temple. I might take my glasses off if I were doing this for real. Around behind your ear, down the side of your neck, over the top of your shoulder, and down your outer arm. And I know Daniel will tell us that these are acupuncture points we're getting, and right to your middle finger. We do this 3 times on either side at any speed that feels good for you, and you will reset your progression up the anxiety continuum.
Oh, I love that one. Those are such great exercises. So just to give a summary of what we've talked about today, we wanted to give you a sense of anxiety and how we treat it in our different disciplines, and how we work together to treat it to help move a person longer on their path of self-care, and to give you some basic exercises of how you can take care of yourself with stress and anxiety. So we'd love to hear more from you. If you have questions, we'll leave our contact information. If you want to know how to do these simple exercises, just reach out and we'll share them again. And thank you so much, Alane, for inviting me. This was great.
Thank you. Bye.